Ethan didn't notice me at first. That wasn't unusual. The downtown cafe was always full, laptops open, headphones in, people pretending they were too busy to look at anyone else. But I noticed him. I noticed the way he held his paper cup with both hands like it anchored him. I noticed the tiny crease between his eyebrows, like he was silently solving a problem no one else could see. I was there to meet my friend Tessa. I had picked the table by the window because it gave you the illusion of privacy without actually hiding you from the world. It was a perfect spot for people watching and for pretending you didn't care who might walk past. Then Ethan looked up. Not in a dramatic movie way. Not with slow motion or a sudden soundtrack shift. Just a normal glance, quick, almost accidental, except it landed on me and stayed there a heartbeat longer than polite. His eyes did something I still can't describe without sounding ridiculous. They softened. Like he'd found something familiar, without knowing why. I looked away first. Not because I was shy exactly. More because I knew what that look could become if I let it. And I was tired. Tired of stories that started with a look and ended with me rebuilding myself from scratch. Tessa arrived late, as she always did, dropping into the chair across from me with an apology that sounded more like a greeting. "Sorry," she said, brushing rain from her hair. A customer refused to accept the concept of a return policy. "You work at a boutique," I said. "You deal with grown adults who behave like toddlers for a living." She smiled like I'd paid her a compliment. "Exactly. I brought you a gift." She slid a small box across the table. The kind of box that made my stomach tighten before I even touched it. "What is it?" I asked. "A solution," she said. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. I already knew what Tessa liked to help with. She had always believed life could be fixed with the right accessories. "Tess," I warned softly. "Don't." She leaned forward. "Maya, you told me you wanted to feel different." I exhaled through my nose. "I said I wanted to feel like myself again." "That's what I mean," she said quickly, as if we were agreeing. "You've been hiding. You don't go out. You don't post. You don't even wear lipstick anymore." I glanced at the reflection in the window. She was right. I looked like someone who had stopped expecting anything good to happen. "I'm fine," I lied. Tessa watched me the way only someone who loved you could, like she could see the lie before it left her mouth. "You're not fine. You're surviving." I said nothing because the worst part was that she wasn't being dramatic. She tapped the box. "Just open it." I didn't want to. Not because I disliked gifts, but because gifts meant someone had expectations. And I had spent a long time learning how to live without them. Still, I opened it. Inside was a simple silver pendant on a thin chain. A tiny crescent moon, polished smooth. It was understated, almost shy. "It's beautiful," I said, surprised. Tessa's eyes lit up like she'd won something. "It's not just pretty. It's a symbol." "Of what?" "Of you stepping back into your life," she said. "Wear it today. Please." I hesitated. The pen felt too intimate for a random Tuesday. Too much like a promise. Then I saw Ethan again, moving toward the pickup counter, and for reasons I still don't understand, I slipped the chain around my neck. It settled against my collarbone like it belonged there. I told myself it didn't mean anything. That's what I always told myself in the beginning. Tessa chattered about her week, about fabric shipments and influencer customers and the constant chaos of retail. I tried to listen. I really did. But every few seconds, I felt that weight in my throat, cool metal against warm skin, and it made me aware of my own body in a way I hadn't been in months. I caught Ethan glancing at me again. Not in a creepy way. More like he was trying to figure out whether he recognized me. Then he did something that made my heart give an awkward kick. He smiled. Small. Almost private. Like he was smiling at a memory. I looked down at my coffee as if it had suddenly become fascinating. Tessa followed my gaze, and her face turned slowly into a grin. "Oh my God." "Don't," I warned again. "You're blushing," she said, delighted. "I am not." "You are," she insisted. "You haven't blushed in like 2 years." "That's not." She cut me off with a sharp inhale and a stage whisper. "He's coming over." My stomach dropped. Sure enough, Ethan was walking toward our table, cup in hand, as if he decided something and couldn't talk himself out of it. Up close, he looked slightly older than I first thought, early 30s maybe, but in a way that felt steady rather than worn. His sweater was damp at the shoulders from the rain. He smelled faintly of cedar and coffee. His hair was the kind of dark brown that looked almost black until you saw it under light. He stopped at the edge of the table. "Hi," he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were cautious, like he expected me to bolt. I forced a polite smile. "Hi." "I'm sorry," he continued, shifting his cup to his other hand. "This might sound strange, but have we met?" Tessa's eyes widened like she'd been given front row seats to a show. I kicked her gently under the table. I kept my expression neutral. "I don't think so." Ethan frowned, not angry, just confused. "I swear I recognize you." I felt my pulse in my throat right beneath the crescent moon pendant. Tessa leaned in, unable to help herself. "Maybe you saw her somewhere," she offered brightly. "She has one of those faces." I shot her a look. Ethan's gaze flickered to the pendant. His eyes narrowed slightly in concentration, like something had clicked, but he wasn't sure what it meant. "I'm Ethan," he said at last, as if choosing a safer topic. "I just moved here a few months ago." "Maya," I replied. "And I'm Tessa," Tessa said immediately, practically bouncing. "I have known Maya since she was a fetus." "That's impressive," Ethan said, amused. I sighed. "We went to school together." Ethan smiled again, and this time it reached his eyes. "Nice to meet you, Maya." The way he said my name felt like he'd said it before. He hesitated, then added, "I'm meeting someone here, but they're late. Do you mind if I wait nearby?" It was a normal question, a harmless one, but it made me strangely nervous. "Sure," Tessa said before I could. "Plenty of room." Ethan pulled a chair from the neighboring table and sat at a slight angle, not intruding but close enough that the air between us felt shared. He took a sip of his drink and tried not to stare, which somehow made me more aware of him. Tessa, of course, stared openly. "So," she said, "what do you do, Ethan?" He looked relieved to be asked something simple. "I'm a project manager. Mostly boring corporate stuff. I coordinate people who don't want to be coordinated." Tessa laughed. "A hero." He shrugged. "Depends on the day." "And you, Maya?" he asked, looking at me again. I always dreaded that question, because my answer never felt like it explained me. "I do graphic design," I said. "Freelance." "That's not boring," Ethan said. "It can be," I replied. He tilted his head slightly. "Maybe. But it sounds like you build things." I blinked. "I guess." He smiled again. "I like people who build things." Tessa kicked my foot under the table this time, like she was trying to remind me to act like a human being instead of a statue. I took a careful breath. "So, who are you meeting?" Ethan's expression shifted, subtle but real. He looked down at his cup, then back up. "A friend," he said. "Someone I've been talking to online." Tessa's eyebrows shot up.
"Ooh."
Ethan chuckled, embarrassed. "It's not like that." "Sure," Tessa said, grinning. "Totally innocent." Ethan glanced at me, as if silently asking for backup. I shrugged, feigning indifference. "People can be friends online." "I know," Ethan said quickly. She's important to me." The word important landed strangely. Tessa leaned back, satisfied. "Well, I hope she shows up." Ethan checked his phone, and something in his face tightened. "She just messaged," he said. "What did she say?" Tessa asked, immediately invested. Ethan hesitated, then held his phone closer to himself like the message was private. "She said she's here." He looked around the cafe, scanning faces. His eyes passed over me. Then they stopped. Not on my face. On the crescent moon pendant. I watched his jaw shift, as if he'd swallowed something he wasn't ready for. "Maya," he said slowly, his voice suddenly different. "Lower." "Yes," I asked, even though my heart was already pounding hard enough to make my hands shake. He looked at the pendant again. "That necklace," he said. "Where did you get it?" I swallowed. "My friend gave it to me." Ethan's eyes widened slightly, and for the first time since he sat down, he looked genuinely unsettled. "What's wrong?" I asked. His phone buzzed again.
He didn't look at it.
He just stared at me like he was seeing two versions of me layered on top of each other. Maya, he said again, and now his voice had an edge, not anger, not accusation, but something sharp with fear. This is going to sound crazy. I forced a small laugh. Today has already been weird. Ethan's gaze dropped to his phone. He finally unlocked it with his thumb, then turned the screen toward himself. His breath hitched. Then he held it out toward me. I didn't want to look. I looked anyway. The message on his screen was short. 2 words. I'm here. And above it right there at the top of the chat was the name he had saved. Luna. My stomach went cold. The crescent moon pendant pressed heavier against my skin, as if it had suddenly turned into something dangerous. Ethan stared at me, waiting. Tessa's grin had faded. She looked from Ethan to me like she'd just realized this wasn't flirting anymore, it was something else entirely. I tried to speak, but my throat didn't cooperate. Ethan's phone buzzed again. He didn't look down. His eyes stayed locked on mine. Are you, he said very carefully, Luna? My lungs forgot how to work. Because the answer was supposed to be no. It had always been no. I wasn't supposed to be anyone's secret, anyone's fantasy, anyone's late-night conversation with a name that wasn't mine. But the truth was sitting in his hand, glowing on a screen. And the worst part? Ethan's face didn't look like a man who'd caught someone in a lie. It looked like a man who had just realized the person he trusted most might not exist the way he thought she did. I opened my mouth, and at that exact moment, a woman's voice cut through the cafe behind me. Ethan? We all turned. A woman stood near the door, rain-soaked, eyes scanning the room. And when her gaze landed on Ethan, she smiled warm, familiar, absolutely certain. She walked straight toward us. Ethan looked at her, then back at me, like his mind was splitting in two. The woman stopped at our table and extended her hand. Hi, she said to me, friendly as if we were about to be introduced at a dinner party. I'm Claire. Then she looked at Ethan and added, Sorry I'm late. Traffic was awful. Ethan didn't take her hand. He didn't even blink. He just whispered, barely audible. But you're not. Claire's smile faltered. Tessa's hand flew to her mouth. And I sat there frozen, absolutely knowing that whatever was happening, it was bigger than a simple misunderstanding. Because I recognized Claire, too. Not from the cafe. Not from the city. From a picture Ethan had once sent me in a late-night chat, months ago, when he thought he was talking to someone else. He'd said, This is my best friend. She's basically family. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that in that photo, Claire had been wearing a crescent moon necklace identical to the one now hanging on my chest. And Claire's eyes had just dropped to it. Her face changed in an instant. Like she'd seen a ghost. Like she'd seen a theft. Like she'd seen a secret. She looked up at me and said, very softly, Where did you get that? I couldn't answer. Because suddenly, I wasn't sure whose story I was living anymore. And Ethan, still staring at me, still holding his phone, finally spoke again, voice tight and shaking. Maya, he said, I need you to tell me the truth. Right now. I drew in a breath that felt like broken glass. And I realized I had no idea which truth would save us. Claire kept her hand in the air for another second, then slowly lowered it. The friendliness on her face didn't disappear. It hardened. Like she'd just realized she'd walked into a room where everyone else knew the rules and she didn't. Ethan didn't move. His phone was still in his hand, screen dimming, but the name Luna was burned into my brain like a brand. I could feel the crescent pendant against my skin. It suddenly felt less like jewelry and more like evidence. Tessa leaned forward, voice careful. Sorry. Are you two together? Claire blinked at her, then looked at Ethan. No, she said too quickly. Ethan and I are friends. Ethan finally spoke, but it came out rough. Claire, why are you here? The question was simple. The air wasn't. Claire's eyes darted to me again, straight to the pendant, then back to Ethan. You told me to come, she said. You said you needed to talk. Ethan stared at her as if she'd started speaking another language. I didn't tell you anything. Claire's jaw tightened. Yes, you did. You called. Last night. Ethan's grip on the phone tightened. I didn't call you last night. Tessa's gaze flicked between them like a referee watching a match that had gotten personal. And me? I couldn't stop hearing Ethan's earlier words. She's important to me. I took a breath, forcing my voice to work. Ethan, I said, as calmly as I could manage. Who did you think you were meeting? His eyes snapped to mine. They were wide now, not romantic, not curious, just raw with confusion. I thought I was meeting, he swallowed, and his throat bobbed. Luna. Claire's expression changed at that name. Not confusion, recognition. She looked at Ethan, then at me, then back at Ethan. Luna, she repeated softly, like she was testing how it sounded out loud. Ethan nodded once, stiff. We've been talking for months. He stopped himself, as if he'd just realized he was about to say something he didn't want to say in front of strangers. Tessa's eyes met mine. Her expression said, What did you do? I wanted to answer her. I wanted to say, I didn't do anything. I didn't plan this. I didn't even know who Ethan was 30 minutes ago. But the truth was complicated in the way truths often are. Because Luna wasn't a person I invented out of boredom. She started as a shield. A name I used online when I didn't want the world to see my real face, my real life, my real soft spots. A name that felt safe because it wasn't me. Except over time, it became not safe. It became familiar. It became a place where I could talk without being interrupted. Where I could laugh without someone asking why. Where I could say things I didn't know how to say as Maya. And then one day, in one of those late-night threads where people talk about nothing and everything at once, Ethan showed up. Not with a cheesy pickup line. Not with a performance. He replied to something I'd written, something small about loneliness and how quiet apartments can sound at night, and his message wasn't advice. It was understanding. He said, I get it. The silence can feel like it's judging you. That one line had made me pause for a full minute because it wasn't the kind of thing people say unless they've sat with the same silence. It wasn't supposed to become a habit, but it did. Ethan and I talked in small pieces at first. Books, coffee, annoying coworkers, rainy weather. Then slowly, our messages got longer. More personal. More honest. Still, I never told him my real name. Not because I was playing a game, because I wasn't. But because I didn't know how to go from Luna back to Maya without ruining the one place I felt unobserved. Now he was sitting 3 feet from me, asking a question that could tear that space apart. Are you Luna? He'd asked. And Claire, this stranger with the same necklace in her memory, was watching me like the answer might explode. I set my coffee down very carefully, as if a sudden move would break something. I need a minute, I said, and my voice surprised even me with how steady it sounded. Ethan's eyes didn't leave my face. No, he said quietly. I need you to tell me now. Claire's gaze sharpened. Ethan, what is going on? Ethan didn't look at her. I don't know, he admitted, and that one sentence made him sound more human than anything else he'd said. Tessa cleared her throat. Okay, sorry, this is intense. Should I? No, I said, immediately, because if Tessa left, I'd lose my only anchor. She stayed. Claire's eyes flicked around the cafe, as if she'd suddenly realized how public this was. Can we not do this here? She asked. Ethan finally looked at her, frustration flashing. You walked in here like you were expected. I was expected. Claire snapped back, then stopped herself, lowering her voice. Ethan, I'm not trying to fight. I'm just confused. I pressed 2 fingers to the pendant, more for grounding than anything else. The crescent was cold. Claire, I said, turning to her for the first time, you said you recognized this necklace. Claire's eyes dropped to it again. Yes. How? Claire hesitated. Her gaze moved to Ethan like she was asking permission to speak. Ethan stared back, equally lost. Claire exhaled sharply. Because I own one, she said. My stomach tightened. You own a crescent moon pendant. Not just similar, Claire said, voice low. The same. Down to the tiny scratch on the left side. I glanced down. There was a scratch. A thin one, like a mark made by a key. Tessa leaned in, eyes narrowing.
Wait, what?
How would you know about a scratch? Claire lifted her chin, as if she'd rather not answer, but couldn't avoid it. Because I've had it for years, she said. I wore it almost every day. My hand went numb around the pendant. Tessa's voice turned sharp. Maya, I bought that necklace. I gave it to you. I looked at her. I know. From where? Claire asked suddenly, cutting into us.
Tessa blinked.
From my shop supplier. A wholesaler. It's not a family heirloom or anything. Claire shook her head slowly.
No.
That's not possible. Ethan leaned forward, finally speaking like a man trying to hold on to sanity. Claire, he said, why does this matter? Claire's eyes glistened. Because it was mine, she said, and her voice cracked on the last word. And it went missing. The cafe noise seemed to fade away. I could still hear the espresso machine hiss, still see people laughing at other tables, but it all felt distant, like I was underwater. Ethan's face hardened. What do you mean, missing? Claire swallowed. It disappeared from my apartment 3 months ago. My throat tightened. 3 months. That was around the time Ethan and I started talking more regularly. Around the time Luna stopped being a mask and started feeling like someone I could be. Claire continued, words tumbling now. I thought I'd misplaced it. Then I realized other things were strange, too, like someone had been in my place. Not stealing big stuff. Just moving things. Taking small things. Tessa's mouth fell open. That's creepy. Ethan's eyes flicked to me again, and something in them changed. Not anger.
Fear.
Because the story Claire was telling didn't fit the version of this moment he wanted to be true. I lifted my hands slightly, palms open. I've never been to your apartment, I said, voice firm. I don't even know you. Claire's eyes narrowed. Then how do you have it? I told you, Tessa insisted, almost panicking now. I bought it. I didn't steal anything. Claire didn't look convinced. Ethan rubbed his forehead like he was trying to wake himself up. Okay, he said, voice strained. We are missing something. A lot. He looked at his phone again, and this time he tapped the screen, pulling up the chat thread. His thumb hovered. Then he turned the phone toward me again. On the screen was a profile picture, an abstract image of a moonlit ocean. Not a face. No real identifying details. Ethan's voice dropped. This is Luna. I nodded slowly, heart hammering. Yes. Tessa's eyes widened. Maya, what? I took a breath, then another, choosing every word like it mattered. I used that name online, I admitted. I didn't want my real identity out there. Ethan's face tightened. So you're Luna? I'm the person behind the account, I said carefully. Yes. Claire stared at me as if she couldn't decide whether to be angry or relieved. So you're the one who called Ethan here? I shook my head.
No.
Ethan's head snapped up. But Luna said she was here. I didn't message you, I said, and I meant it. Ethan blinked hard. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't, I agreed. Claire's voice rose a fraction. Then who did? Ethan looked between us, then down at his phone. She's been messaging me today, he said. In real time. My stomach dropped. Show me. Ethan scrolled, jaw clenched. The last few messages were short, casual, normal. Then one stood out. A message that made my skin go cold. Where the moon? Ethan looked up at me sharply. You told me that. I shook my head so fast my hair brushed my cheeks. No, I didn't. Tessa inhaled sharply. Wait, what do you mean, where the moon? Ethan's voice was hoarse now. This morning, Luna messaged me. She said, where the moon? I'll know it's you. I stared at him, my mind racing. Because I had never told Ethan about the pendant. I'd put it on today on a whim, because Tessa asked. Because it felt symbolic. Because I wanted to feel like myself again. But I hadn't posted it. I hadn't taken a photo. I hadn't told anyone online. Which meant Ethan's gaze locked on mine, and I could see him reaching the same thought. Someone else was using the account. Or someone else was watching me. Tessa's voice was barely audible. Maya, are you sure your account is secure? My blood turned to ice. I remembered little things I'd ignored. A random login alert weeks ago that I dismissed because it showed a location nearby. A password reset email I didn't request. Messages in my sent folder that I didn't remember sending, tiny, harmless ones that I assumed were drafts. I told myself I was tired. I told myself I was imagining it. Ethan's phone buzzed again. He glanced down, and the color drained from his face. He turned the screen toward me. A new message from Luna. "I'm watching." I felt my stomach twist. Claire stood up, so suddenly her chair scraped loudly. "No," she said, shaking her head. "Absolutely not. This is not." Ethan grabbed her wrist gently, not to control her, but to stop her from leaving in panic. "Claire, wait. Please." She looked at his hand on her wrist, then up at him. "Ethan, this is insane." "It is," Ethan said. "But if someone is impersonating her, if someone is using her account, then—" Claire yanked her hand back, voice shaking. "Then what? Someone is stalking her?
Or you.
Or me?" Tessa stood too, eyes wide, protective now. "Maya, we should go. Like, now." I nodded, my body moving on instinct. I grabbed my bag. My hands were trembling so badly my fingers felt clumsy. Ethan stood as well, looking torn between staying to figure it out and following us to make sure we were safe. "Maya," he said, voice urgent, "I'm not letting you walk out alone." "We're not alone," Tessa said quickly, already scanning the cafe like she expected someone to jump out. Claire looked at the pendant again. "Take it off," she said suddenly. I froze. "What?" "Take it off," Claire repeated, voice tight. "If someone is using that symbol to identify you, if someone is tracking you, don't wear it." My fingers went to the clasp automatically. It took me 2 tries to open it. The chain slid free. I dropped the pendant into my palm. It looked harmless. Just metal. But it didn't feel harmless anymore. We moved toward the door together, the 3 of them forming a loose wall around me without saying it out loud. As we stepped outside, the rain had eased into a fine mist. The street smelled like wet concrete and car exhaust. People passed by with umbrellas, normal, unbothered. The world kept going. Tessa's voice was tight. "Okay, we need to get you home and change your passwords." Ethan nodded, pulling out his keys. "My car's right there." Claire hesitated, looking back through the cafe window as if she expected to see someone staring. "I should go," she said. "I don't want to be part of whatever this is." Ethan's head snapped toward her. "You already are." Claire flinched. "Don't say that." Ethan softened immediately. "I'm sorry.
I didn't mean it like that."
Claire, if your necklace went missing and now this one is showing up here with her, and my messages are coming from her account, but she didn't send them, it's connected." Claire's lips pressed together. "Or it's a coincidence." Ethan stared at her. "Do you really believe that?" Claire didn't answer. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I didn't want to look at it. I looked. A notification from the app, one used to message Ethan. A new login alert. Location: less than a mile away. Time: just now. And beneath it, a message sent from my account appeared in the chat. Not to Ethan. To a contact I didn't recognize. It was only one sentence. "Bring her to the car." My breath caught. Tessa saw my face. "What is it?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because across the street, parked in a spot that hadn't been empty a minute ago, there was a dark sedan with fogged windows. The engine was running. And the passenger side door opened slowly, deliberately, like someone had been waiting for us to step outside. Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper. "Maya." Claire took a step back. "No." Tessa grabbed my arm, nails digging into my sleeve. "We're not going anywhere near that." But it was too late to pretend we hadn't seen it. Because a figure shifted in the driver's seat. And through the windshield, I saw a familiar glint silver, crescent-shaped hanging from the rear-view mirror. The same moon, a different chain. And the person inside lifted their head just enough for me to catch the outline of their face. Not clear. Not fully. But close enough to know one thing with certainty. Whoever it was, they knew exactly who I was. And they wanted me to know it. My phone vibrated again. A new message from Luna popped onto the screen. "You finally remembered me." Ethan's hand hovered near my elbow, like he didn't want to grab me without permission but also didn't want me to drift away from him. Tessa pulled me back a step. "We're crossing the street the other way," she said, voice firm, the way she sounded when a customer tried to argue with her. Claire was already shaking her head, eyes fixed on the sedan. "This is insane," she whispered. "This is not real." But it was real enough that my throat had gone dry. The sedan's door stayed open. No one stepped out. That was the worst part. If someone had jumped out yelling, it would have been easier, clearer. But this felt like a trap designed by someone who understood hesitation. My phone buzzed again, like it enjoyed the timing. I didn't open the message. I couldn't. I shoved the phone deep into my coat pocket, as if that would make it stop existing. Ethan glanced at the sedan, then at me. "My car's behind us," he said quietly. "We can go. Right now." Tessa's grip tightened on my sleeve. "We're not getting separated," she said. "We go together." Claire backed away another step, her eyes darting down the street, searching for something, anything that made sense. "Ethan, I'm calling someone," she said. "Who?" Ethan asked, distracted. Claire swallowed. "Someone who owes me an explanation." That sentence hit like a slap. "What does that mean?" I asked, voice thin. Claire didn't answer. She looked at Ethan again, and her expression changed into something I didn't like, something complicated and guilty. Ethan noticed it too. "Claire," he said low. "What aren't you telling me?" Claire's jaw clenched. "Not now," she snapped. Then, softer. "Not here." The sedan across the street made a quiet sound, just the soft click of a signal, a blink of an indicator light. Like it was reminding us it was still there. Tessa tugged me. "Move," she said. We started walking, not running, because running would turn fear into spectacle. We kept our pace steady, like four normal people leaving a cafe. My heart didn't get the memo. It pounded so hard it made my ears ring. I risked a glance over my shoulder. The sedan's door closed. Slowly. No slam. No drama. Just a decision. Then the car eased out of the spot. Not fast. Not chasing. Just following at a respectful distance, like it didn't need to hurry, because it already knew where we were going. Ethan's car was parked half a block away. We reached it, and he unlocked the doors with a quick beep. "Front seat," Tessa told me, pushing me gently toward it. "You're not sitting in the back like a hostage." I slid in, hands shaking. Ethan got in the driver's seat. Tessa climbed in, behind me. Claire hesitated, still staring down the street, then got into the passenger side back seat. The moment the doors shut, the world felt slightly quieter. Ethan started the engine, but he didn't pull out yet. He looked at me in the rearview mirror, then turned his head to meet my eyes directly. "Maya," he said, careful and controlled, "I need you to tell me everything you can. From the beginning." I opened my mouth. Nothing came out, because the beginning depended on which truth we were talking about. Tessa leaned forward between the seats, voice gentle now. "Start with what you're comfortable saying," she told me. "Just start." I forced air into my lungs. "Luna is a name I used online," I said. "It was supposed to keep my real life separate." Ethan nodded once, like he was filing the information into a drawer. "Did you ever send me your address? Your workplace? Anything identifying?" "No," I said immediately. "Never." "Did you ever share a photo of yourself?" he asked. I hesitated. Tessa's eyes narrowed in the side mirror. "Maya." I swallowed. "Not my face," I said. "Just a hand holding a coffee cup once. A street at night. Dumb stuff. Nothing that should matter." Claire let out a tight, humorless laugh from the back seat. "It always matters," she muttered. Ethan's eyes flicked to her in the mirror. "Claire, stop. Please." Claire's voice sharpened. "No, Ethan. You stop. You have no idea what you've been doing." Ethan gripped the steering wheel harder. "I've been talking to someone I thought I knew." Claire leaned forward, her voice trembling now. "And you dragged me into it." "I didn't drag you," Ethan said, and for the first time he sounded angry. "You showed up here. You said I called you." Claire's face flashed with panic. "Because someone used your number," she said. "Or spoofed it. Or something. I don't know. But I got a call. They knew things. They knew what to say. My skin prickled. Who is they? Claire looked at me, then looked away. A person I used to trust, she said softly. Ethan's voice dropped.
Claire. Who?
Claire's eyes squeezed shut for a second, like she was bracing for impact. His name is Nathan, she said. The name landed heavy in the car. Ethan's face changed. Nathan, he repeated, and the way he said it wasn't unfamiliar. It was personal. Tessa's brows rose. Okay, she said slowly. So, we have a Nathan. My throat tightened. Who is he? Claire stared out the window, voice quiet and clipped. Someone who hates being left out. Ethan's jaw tightened. Nathan is my brother. Silence filled the car, so completely it felt like pressure. Even the rain sounded far away now. I stared at Ethan's profile. Your brother, I repeated. Ethan nodded once, eyes forward. We don't talk much, he said. Not anymore. Claire's voice cracked. Because he ruins things, she whispered. Tessa's hand moved to my shoulder, grounding me. Maya, she said, is it possible your account got hacked? I nodded slowly. Yes, I admitted. I ignored signs. I thought I was being paranoid. Ethan exhaled hard, then finally pulled out into traffic. We drove without a destination for a minute, just moving because staying still felt like surrender. In the side mirror, I saw the sedan again. Still there. Still polite. Still following. My stomach lurched. Ethan spotted it too. His eyes tightened. We're being followed. Claire covered her mouth with her hand. Oh my God. Tessa's voice stayed steady, but I could hear fear underneath. Ethan, don't go home. Don't go to any place linked to you. Ethan nodded. Agreed. He took a turn, then another testing. The sedan mirrored every move. Not close enough to cause a scene. Close enough to prove a point. My phone buzzed again. This time, I didn't even hesitate. I yanked it out and opened the message because uncertainty was worse than fear. A new message from Luna. You're doing great. Keep driving. My vision blurred for a second. Tessa leaned in. What does it say? I showed her. Her face strained. Ethan's voice was low and furious.
He's in a car, he said.
Claire snapped her head toward him. What? He's seeing what we're doing, Ethan said. He's reacting in real time. Tessa shook her head hard. That's not possible unless my phone was compromised. Unless there was a tracking link. Unless there was a second device. Unless someone had access to more than just the account. My fingers fumbled through settings, my mind racing through what I knew and what I didn't. I wasn't a tech expert. I was a designer. I knew layouts, not cybersecurity. But I did know one thing. Whoever was doing this wanted us to feel helpless. Ethan's voice cut in. Maya, can I see your phone? I handed it over. He didn't scroll through my messages like a jealous boyfriend. He didn't accuse. He didn't even look at my old conversations. He went straight to the profile settings, then to the login history. His face went blank. What? I whispered. Ethan turned the screen toward me. There were multiple logins. Some from our city. Some from places that made no sense. And one of them wasn't just recent. It was active.
Right now.
Tessa whispered. So it is a hack. Claire's voice was shaky, bitter.
No, she said.
It's him. Ethan's hands tightened around the phone. Nathan, he said under his breath. What did you do? Then Ethan's own phone buzzed. He glanced down. A call. Unknown number. He didn't answer. It rang again instantly. Then again. Like the person on the other end didn't care about politeness. Ethan finally hit the speaker button with a sharp movement, his voice controlled. Stop calling. A man's voice came through, smooth and calm, like this was a casual favor. Hello, Ethan. Claire went rigid in the back seat. Tessa's hand squeezed my shoulder. I felt my blood run cold. Because even though I'd never heard that voice before, I knew what it sounded like. It sounded like someone who never doubts he'll get what he wants. Ethan's jaw clenched. Nathan. On speaker. Nathan chuckled softly. You're driving in circles, he said. You always did that when you were stressed. Remember when you got your license and you Why are you doing this? Ethan cut in. Nathan ignored the question. Tell Maya I like the necklace, he said, voice turning playful. Good choice. I couldn't breathe. Claire's voice broke, sharp and raw. Leave her alone. Nathan paused, as if savoring her fear. Claire, he said gently, like he was greeting an old friend. There you are. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Don't. Nathan's voice stayed calm. You didn't think you could disappear, did you? Ethan's face twisted with anger. You called Claire. Nathan hummed. I invited her. Like old times. Tessa leaned toward the speaker, voice clear. We're not meeting you. Stop harassing people. Nathan laughed once. Ah, he said. The friend. Hi, Tessa. Tessa's face went white. Ethan's head snapped toward her. How does he know your name? Tessa swallowed hard. I never. Nathan answered for her, voice light. People share more than they realize, he said. Little details. A shop name. A photo reflection. A receipt in the background. A tagged location. It's all design work, really. My stomach turned. Not because he described anything explicit, but because he described something true. How easy it is to connect dots when someone is patient and cruel. Ethan's voice lowered to something dangerous. What do you want? Nathan sighed, like Ethan was being difficult. I want my family back, he said. And I want the lies to stop. Ethan's eyes narrowed. What lies? Nathan's tone shifted, less playful now. Ask her, he said. My throat tightened. Ask who? Nathan answered softly, almost kindly. Ask Maya why she started being Luna in the first place. The car felt suddenly smaller. Tessa's grip on me tightened. Claire stared at me like she was afraid of the answer. Ethan's eyes met mine in the mirror, searching my face. And I realized Nathan wasn't just hacking an account. He was controlling the story. He wanted Ethan to doubt me. He wanted Claire to break. He wanted Tessa to feel guilty. And worst of all, he wanted me to confess something I hadn't even told myself out loud. Ethan's voice was quiet now. Maya, he said, why did you really start using that name? My chest tightened. I looked down at my hands, at the crescent pendant curled in my palm like a question mark. I could lie. I could tell a half-truth. I could say it was just privacy. But Nathan's voice on speaker sounded satisfied, like he already knew the answer, and he knew it would hurt. I swallowed, then whispered the truth I'd avoided for years. Because, I said, Maya wasn't safe to be online anymore. Ethan's brow furrowed. What happened? My voice shook. Someone used my real identity before, I admitted. And it didn't end well. On the speaker, Nathan's voice softened into something almost tender. There it is, he said. Now we can talk like adults. Ethan's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. Claire started crying silently. Tessa's voice came out in a whisper. Maya. Nathan continued, calm as ever. Pull into the next parking lot, he said. We'll end this the easy way. No scenes. No police. No drama. Ethan laughed once hard, bitter. You think you get to negotiate? Nathan's tone stayed smooth. Ethan, he said, look in your rearview mirror. Ethan's eyes flicked up. Mine did too. The sedan was closer now. And for the first time, the driver's window lowered halfway. A hand came out, not holding a weapon, holding a phone. The screen faced us, bright even through the rain. On it was a live video feed of us inside this car. From an angle that should have been impossible. Tessa gasped. Claire let out a broken sound. Ethan slammed his foot on the brake just enough to jolt us, then sped up again, panic finally breaking through his control. Nathan's voice on speaker turned quiet, almost bored. Now, he said, we can do this the hard way, or you can give me what I came for. Ethan's voice shook. What did you come for? Nathan paused, letting the silence stretch. Then he said the last thing I expected. I came for Luna. And my phone buzzed one more time. A message popped up from my own account sent to Ethan. It was a photo. A photo I had never taken. It was of me, sitting in the cafe earlier, touching the crescent pendant at my throat. The angle was close. Too close. As if the person taking it had been standing right behind me.